Meeting to order. Ken,
Yeah, we'll do a roll call. Blackburn.
here.
DeRoney.
Here?
Hageman. Howard.
Present.
McAlexander.
Here.
Mashigian.
Here.
Miller. Here. All right, that's a quorum of 6.
Thank you.
DE did let me know that he would not be here couple weeks ago, so it's sort of a planned absence.
Okay. Before we move on, I also want to remind everybody to please silence your cell phones. And a reminder that this meeting is being videotaped, so anything you say at the podium will become part of our meeting. Next is approval of the agenda. I actually would like to amend the agenda, if I could. Things were really crazy on Friday with our transition, so I would like to add President's message. I guess we could put that before public comment.
Sure.
Right before, okay.
As well as, well, I'm going to include the two topics that were discussed during the public comment during the President's message. We can talk about it then. And I'd also like to add street signage, and we will add that after new business to ongoing business.
New item.
And then I would like to ask for an approval of the amended agenda.
I'll move to approve the amended agenda.
No, second.
And I second the motion.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is the approval of the regular council meeting minutes from April 28th, 2025. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the April 28th Village of Bingham Farms Council meeting.
And I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next is President's message, and this is in response to the April meeting. As we normally do, when there's comments made at the podium, I address those comments on at the next meeting because we don't have a back and forth. I'm going to try to make this as fast as I can. I will start with the new build on Old Orchard Trail. There was a concern about that new build, and there was a rumor that all but 2 trees were taken off of that property. So I've researched that. That rumor is false. There was also a question raised about whether or not a tree survey is still required from new builds. The answer to that is yes. The property in question did submit a tree survey. In 2024, when that paperwork was submitted, the tree survey, according to our ordinance, required that no more than 20% of regulated trees to be removed off of a property. That property owner removed a total of 47 trees of the 211 regulated trees on the property. 10 are exempt due to the fact that they were in a drainage easement. 2 are exempt due to being dead or decayed, and 35 were regulated, which means that 16.5% of the trees that were removed, the 16.5% were removed, and that falls under our 20% ordinance at the time. Since then, we have amended the ordinance to 10% outside of the building envelope. I agree, I drove by, so I agree that when a new build is built on a property that's never been built on before, it's shocking when you drive by. But the need to clear the trees is there so that they can build the home. The front of the property is much more bare than the back. So the back of the property is still full of trees, which is where they're getting the rest of the 16.5. The property owner is also offered to submit a landscape plan, which is not required by our village for single-family residents. We'll be getting that soon. I do know that a lot of trees are going to be planted once the home is finished, so we just need to be patient and let that process play out. I also want to take this opportunity to remind people that a lot of buckthorn is in the village. A lot of buckthorn was planted actually in the village a long time ago, and the need to remove that buckthorn stands today. Another concern that was raised were the driveways off of Timber Trail into the backyards. Some of those access points have been there for years and years. I did drive by that as well. Some have been there for decades, and I can't speak to the reason why it ever began. But we've known for quite some time that Timber Trail was most likely going to be a walking path, and that problem would resolve itself, which is exactly what's happening. So that problem will be resolved this summer. Many of the other concerns expressed by the residents were also based around ordinance enforcement. So for the sake of time, I'm just going to kind of give a general ordinance enforcement update. For a long time, the village has kind of been stuck between a rock and a hard place. Our village manager is not authorized to write tickets, and also ordinance enforcement is not part of the village manager's job description. Of course, current as well as past and future village managers do what they can to enforce our ordinances and work with residents as much as possible. When a complaint comes in to the office, it is handled immediately and followed up on by our staff. Residents are contacted and the issue also is resolved very quickly and without a problem. Most people just say, I'm sorry, I didn't realize, and it's fixed. However, as the resident who spoke last month indicated, we do now live in a very litigious environment, and when our ordinance officer needs to work with the police department to write a ticket, oftentimes our ordinances are just disregarded. And if we do want to take it further, it's very expensive. We do end up in court. So I did look into, since last month, the going rate for an ordinance officer, and that going rate is about $30 an hour. And I would guess the minimum we would need would be, I'm just throwing this out there, is probably at least 25 hours a week to have people, if people want full-time coverage, it's going to cost money, but that's where the conundrum comes in, is that we're also trying to keep costs low. But in order to have somebody driving around the village constantly and somebody who is able to write tickets and follow up in court is going to cost money. This is not for sure, but we may go out for a village in the next 2 years, and we could possibly tie an ordinance officer into that millage, which would help. But I don't know if that's going to happen because council has not voted or discussed that yet. So stay tuned for further details. But again, I do want to say before I move on that most residents are very accommodating, very kind, and are surprised when we contact them and say that there's an issue. They're very quick to work with the village staff to fix that issue. The second concern that was brought up during public comment was the traffic on 13 Mile Road. As stated, 13 Mile Road is an Oakland County road, therefore it does not fall under the jurisdiction of Bingham Farms. I did speak with Chief Lawson, who's here, and he said that he will, his officers will spot check more often the do not block intersection sign. I also spoke with Alex Rosinski, who's with RCOC, on April 10th, about the street signage, but I also brought up the traffic. And he explained all of the options and the costs and the safety risks associated with all the options. There really are very few options for us. The road was not built to handle the traffic that is on that road right now. It is a relatively short period of time, even though 2 years sounds very long. But to make any drastic changes to that road would, as we all know, would cost a ton of money now that we're in the middle of a roads project. And so Ken had asked that resident to write a letter with all of her good ideas, and he would hand deliver it to Dennis, who's the managing director for RCOC. Ken did that, and basically the only no-cost option at this point is to relook at the timing of the lights on 13 Mile Road. And so he said that they would do that they would look at the timing and see if anything could be done about that. Any other options are gonna cost money, and the way that's handled is that whoever requests that, say a light or a left-hand turn arrow or anything like that, is billed to the organization that recommended that or asked for that. And so that would be either Bingham Woods, because that's where the resident who spoke was from, or possibly the school system. But it's in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I can tell you the village is not gonna be paying for that right now, especially for a 2-year project. So that's sort of a lot of the research that I came up with. But I do wanna open this. I said that it would be discussed, and so I think trustee Michigan was the one that said you wanted to discuss it, so I'm opening it up for discussion.
And I do have a comment. In talking with Eileen at Southfield Township, they have a new ordinance officer. And she mentioned that they would love to share that person with us. So that might be an option.
That's
But
good.
Yeah, we don't need full-time,
Mhm.
so that's an alternative. And I don't know, I thought, it's been a couple of years, but the meeting where we voted to disband the design review board, that Ken was gonna be the person in charge of watching out for projects and making sure that they were within the boundaries of the ordinances.
Referring to new builds? Yeah, that's all handled pretty well.
Well, not just new builds, because we also did, renovations and so forth. And in the last couple of years, since no design review board, we've had people actually building structures on their neighbor's property.
But that was resolved.
And tearing, yeah,
Mhm.
and then building it, and it was too tall, so we had to take a few feet off.
And sometimes that happens, and
And then he
we
tore
always
down
have
his
those issues.
neighbor's hedge because he didn't know that the hedge was not on his property, all of it. So now his neighbor has to replace it. There have been issues.
There are always gonna be a few code enforcement issues, and we did have a code enforcement officer employed throughout that time. He resigned at the end of February, so we're without one at the moment. When it comes to new projects, yeah, all new builds, renovations, those are reviewed. But ordinance violations don't just occur with new builds.
Right.
With all
That's what
kinds of other
I'm
issues.
discussing. These are not new builds
Right.
that now the statute issue, is there anything new on that?
They have a letter telling them that they have so much time to remove or to
Mhm.
go before the planning commission and seek approval for their statues. And they have 30 days to respond. They have, I think it's June 6th, until June 6th. But we'll see where it goes.
Yeah. The options that we have?
They have to go to the planning commission for approval.
No, but I'm saying, if they're told that they need to be moved to the backyard
Mhm.
or removed altogether, which I think they can go in the backyard, can't they?
I would imagine so.
Yeah,
There are some
They
in
already
the
have some in the
backyard.
backyard.
Right.
yeah.
So I'm reluctant to kind of speak specifically about residents. I actually had that issue in my verbiage here, but I skipped it because I don't like calling certain residents out publicly without all of the information.
Yeah. Well,
So
we-
that
We're not
issue.
doing name and address, but I needed an
Well,
update.
everybody knows where that is. And, again, it's money. It's money. If they say no, it goes to court.
So what does that cost, do you think? I mean, I would, have you brought it up with the attorney, our attorney?
Well, lawsuits and those kinds of things?
No, have you, just
Right.
this particular where the attorney gets involved? We had that with our HOA.
We had, so again, I'm trying not to talk too much about this. I would rather have a private conversation about specific properties. Our attorney's already written a letter, so it's already costing us
There you
money.
go.
And if they say no, our next step is court. Money.
And it's hard to put an estimate on that,
Right.
depending on how long it goes.
Yeah.
But we know what the hourly rate is, right?
Mhm.
Right. And by the way, we don't always just go to court and then they're there at a certain time. I mean, I know this happened with the previous ordinance officer. You get there and then you find out where you are in the docket, so our ordinance officer might be sitting there for 6 hours, getting paid, waiting for our case to be brought up on the docket, and we're paying our ordinance officer that whole time, as well as the attorney.
Cost of doing business.
It
Cost
is.
of keeping the village the way most residents want it kept. I'm just saying, we've got to think of that too. We can't work out of fear.
I don't feel like we're working out of fear. I think we're working out of residents being very vocal about wanting their taxes held low. So if we want to veer more money, if we want to shift money, like I said, we're looking at least $25 to $30 an hour for an ordinance officer, plus attorney fees on top of that. Like, it's going to cost money. So it's like,
Would that be a village council vote to go to court or not go to court?
I don't think we.
Well, the
vote.
first step is to hear what the
Well, I've read it again, but if
Yeah.
it got to
Commission
that
has to
point,
say.
right.
But I would say yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Mhm.
It depends on how severe, how far you want to take it.
Right.
I think another thing that we should do is take a look at the fines that we are imposing for ordinances. In today's dollars, they really are meaningless for a lot of people, so they don't hesitate, well, okay, I'll pay the $200, big deal. So I think at some point, we as council should really say, maybe there needs to be a tenfold increase or something very significant in fines, and announce to the village that if you cut down too many trees, now this is what your new fine is going to be. So perhaps
Mhm.
that's a way to help minimize actual enforcement with an officer, but to put some real power behind our ordinances.
Most court fines are assigned by the judge, not by the council,
But our ordinance does have fees.
occasionally, but,
Yes.
the ordinance book is really thick.
Uh-huh.
It's not, every ordinance doesn't have, a fee schedule attached to it. I mean, there's hundreds of ordinances. They don't all have fee schedules.
But maybe we should start to take a look at that. Because I know we did impose one fine for, in this council session, for encroachment on a driveway area, and that was a minimal fine.
Mhm.
So the fine was paid, and okay, the violation was just.
That was a ZBA meeting, right.
Mhm. So I think we need to look at that.
We can look at that. But again, it's just all money. It's just money. So the question is, how much money do we want to spend? Changing our ordinances cost money, and so I think moving forward, we just need to think about, if we're gonna increase this fee schedule. Most people who violate an ordinance, like I said, don't do it on purpose, and then they're told and they stop. And a lot of the people who know the ordinance and do it anyway are not deterred by dollar amounts, I'll just say that. But again, we can change our ordinance fee schedule, that's fine. But I think we need to have the bigger discussion of how much money do we want to spend? Do we want to raise taxes? And do we want to kind of be that village that gets people, you know, because there's certain things that bother some people more than others. So, you know, do we want somebody to get a ticket every time their garbage can is out before 5 or not picked up by a certain time in the evening? So we can't just pick and choose what certain people are most offended by. It'll be a bigger discussion of, do we want to become that village that's really, really strict
Well,
about
I think the
things?
comments at the last meeting from residents and that were seconded by other residents indicate that we are not being very responsible as a council in enforcing our ordinances. And I think we have to take that seriously.
I think we do as well. But we also have to remember that, you know, we have a lot of other things going on, and like the comment was made, are we problem solvers? You know, we need to come up with solutions. I mean, we do a lot of work every month, and again, if we want to focus a lot of energy on this, it'll just take time from other things, and it'll cost money. And if that's what we want to do, I do want to say, just because it's come up, you know, the comment of we don't come up with solutions and all of that. Last month, our council was presented with the SAG budget. We heard the police annual report. Everybody was given an opportunity to ask questions. We set a public hearing for the police SAD. We held a public hearing for the adoption of Resolution 4 for the roads. We awarded the bid for the roads, which we've been waiting for 4 years to do that. We discussed street signage. We talked about next. We hired a new village manager. We introduced our new village attorneys, which we hired without even one meeting in between our previous and our new attorneys. We passed an amendment for the FCO district. I mean, I could go on. We passed a resolution for the SIB loan. Like we do, I think council needs to take pride in what we do accomplish. The things we do, a lot of times what we do aren't flashy and beautiful and exciting, but that's not council's job. But I will put on a future agenda to discuss ordinances and where we want to go from there.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think it was a great meeting last meeting, got a lot
Yeah.
done, but I really do think that getting some type of agreement with council or with whoever on an ordinance officer is really important.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
It's
and I
really
think
important.
addressing the issues
Yeah.
that are really important to our residents, our shareholders,
Yeah.
the people that pay the taxes and support all the projects that we voted on and do and how we spend our money, and we need to listen to them too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They're worried about the village and they see things that didn't occur before, and they want it
If you have
fixed.
somebody driving around 20 hours a week, you'll solve a problem when it's small instead of waiting for the problem to get
Yeah,
much bigger. And I'm afraid in the situation we're talking about, that's kind of where we are right now. But I
Right.
think an ordinance officer is a great idea.
Right.
Mhm.
I do feel also it's important for council to be familiar with the ordinances and ask
Yes.
questions, because that house, I mean, the statement was made, there's 2 trees left on that property.
Which is
That's
not true.
completely
Not
false.
true, yeah.
Completely false. And council should be aware, and the 7 of us should be going out and educating the residents as to what our ordinances are, why the ordinances are what they are, and correct those rumors immediately.
Agreed.
Is there
couldn't that be done in a newsletter? to state this occurred, this is the ordinance?
I think she
Reference it.
means in person, if somebody says something around you and you know better, say better.
Yeah, but the idea is we need to educate our community. They need to be aware if they are concerned and give them the source of where to go,
Right.
I've reminded everybody that the ordinance book is on the website,
right?
the entire book, as well as the code, the zoning ordinance, and anybody has access, anybody in the world with internet access has access to the code book.
And it's a very, very energizing read.
That's true. It is,
I always
definitely,
enjoyed it.
Yeah.
it's kind of boring reading. There's no question of that.
But if you're looking for something, you can find it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right. Okay, is there any more discussion on that? Next, we will go to public comments not on published agenda. I know we have at least one. Step to the podium, please state your name and address.
Hi, I'm Tony Grenan, 30705 Timberbrook Lane. And I just have brief remarks to make about roads not connected to your item 6 on the agenda. So that's why I wanted to do it now. I wanted to commend the council on the fix that you've come up with for this very bizarre situation that we have here in our village. We have more residents on private roads, as I know you're aware, than we do on village roads. And how to fund this is a conundrum, and there is no perfect answer, but I think you've come close. I think you've done as good a fix as could probably have been come up with, and I would commend you all on your work on that. I would ask you to consider another tweak that you might make to this plan that would make it even more fair than it is now. And it's something that when I lived in Beverly Hills, the village of Beverly Hills did, and it made perfect sense there, and I think it would make perfect sense here. And that is that when the village undertakes a project on a village road, you let the private neighborhoods know about that and say, hey, we're gonna be doing an asphalt project in the summer of 2025. If you have asphalt work, have your project bid along with the village's project. You will pay pro rata for your share of the work, but you will get the benefit, and the village will get the benefit of doing the bigger project. Because if you've done any work with road stuff, which I've done a little of in my village time, the most expensive project you can do is the little project. You
Yeah.
pay through the nose. If you live on a small street in a private neighborhood, you pay a lot of money, because the cost is in getting the equipment and the people and the materials to the site. So if you would open that up to private neighborhoods, I think everyone would benefit. There's virtually no downside, except somebody's gotta do the math, but that's hardly a big deal. And it would just be another way to make this a little more fair and a little more equitable, and it's a win-win, and to me, a no-brainer. And I'd ask you to please keep it in mind as you work your way through this road situation.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for your help, for getting us to where we are as well. Are there any other public comments? Yes.
I'm Jim Valaket, live at 32810 Bingham Lane. And I just became, I'm maybe a little behind the curve. I just became aware that Jamie is our new village manager. And I just wanted to say thank you to Ken for all of the work that he's done over the last number of years, and his conscientiousness and all the courtesies that he's shown to myself and to the residents of the Bingham Road Estate. So thank you very much, Ken.
Thanks, Jim. Thank you.
That's very nice, thank you.
And good luck to you.
Thank you.
Any other public comments? Seeing none, we'll move to discussion topics and start with the fire department with, did he go?
Yeah.
He,
Did he run?
okay. He had, I know that the fire commission had a meeting tonight as well, so, I knew he had to go, so we missed our window, but you have the fire department monthly report in your packet, and if you have any questions, we can ask him next month, or you could email him. So we'll move to the village manager's report.
Thank you. Yes, so today, this is my last day, my last meeting. It's been a pleasure working here for the last 6.5 years. It's just time to move onward and upward, I guess. Nothing against the village at all. I really enjoyed my time, got a lot of great experience, met a lot of great people, had a lot of great relationships with people that I hope to continue with. So thank you all for the opportunity to work here. Next, two things. Large item pickup is Thursday, May 22nd. That's this week. So if you've got items that need to go out, please have them out at the street by 7 a.m., street side at 7 a.m. And a reminder that we're closed, of course, on Memorial Day. That's really my official last day. It's kind of odd, but anyway, so be it. And this is Jamie Moore, my replacement. So everyone get to know her as you're going about your village business. Other than that, I mean, I think we should just move on to the next thing.
Okay, we won't embarrass you.
Okay.
Are you sure?
Sure. Next is the Administrative Assistant Economic Development Report. Evgeny?
The only things I wanted to make sure I mention out loud, for any residents or council members that are not aware yet, so our police department joined the Code Red Emergency Alert System. You can sign up to get real-time alerts during emergencies that are local to Bingham Farms. You can opt in for either text, email, or automated voice message to come in as a call on your phone. And we also have a new page on our website under government for the 2025 road improvement project with some really helpful information that was provided to us by our engineering team with HRC, including some of the upcoming traffic detours that are going to be happening once we get to the Bingham Road portion of the construction. There is a link on that page where you can click and sign up for an email blast distribution from HRC, where they will be keeping everybody up to date basically weekly on what's happening with that project. And with both of those, signing up for either of those, if any resident has any issues doing that, feel free to call us, feel free to come in with your iPad, your laptop. I'll help you sign up if you're having trouble with it, because I know I already had a couple of calls like that. So.
Very good.
I contacted him on both, so.
Thank you for always being available. Are there any questions? No. Okay, we're gonna move to the Police Department monthly report, and Chief Lawson is here.
Good evening.
Hello.
Any questions on the report? Okay,
Nope.
thank you. I will add a couple of things. So, our full-time staffing is 12 people, that's what we're budgeted for. And there's very, very few departments in Oakland County, and I would say probably 0 departments in Oakland County that are gonna be fully staffed anytime soon. If we look at Bloomfield Township, they're down about 8 people, West Bloomfield 8 people, Southfield 30. But I'm happy to announce this September I've got a guarantee from an officer that currently works at West Bloomfield. He's got 30 years of experience, still got a lot of energy. He has an unbelievable amount of knowledge and talent to help mentor some of the young people. So he'll be joining our team in September, which will bring us up to full staffing. So I'm pretty proud of that. Any other questions?
That's tremendous, but don't sit down,
Okay, well not.
because we're gonna have you, if you wanna talk a little bit about the interlocal agreement for mental health,
Sure.
the co-response team.
So as you know, mental health has been a concern certainly throughout the United States for many years. They say 1 in 5 people have some sort of mental health concern. And more is put on law enforcement to deal with these issues in the community. And we are problem solvers and we want to solve problems, but there's some things that really is a little bit out of our league. And one of those is dealing with certain types of mental health issues. And so we have partnered with Oakland County Mental Health and especially West Bloomfield Police Department, which is going to pick up about 95% of the costs, as well as several other departments, to share a full-time mental health worker. It's either going to be a social worker or a psychologist that will work 40 hours a week, that will ride with the different departments, and that will be on call if we need that person. So, let's say that we go and we meet with someone that has maybe some suicidal thoughts, and we want to commit that person to the hospital. We can call this on-duty provider to come out, de-escalate the situation, help us with the paperwork, things like that. Maybe we have a situation where there's a family trouble. That person can come out and assist us. So I think it's a really good tool for us. I think I mentioned before, I looked at Bloomfield Township, Auburn Hills, and Birmingham that has the same program. They wanted us to pay $50,000, and obviously we can't afford that, neither village or the police department. So this is an incredible deal at $2,500 per community, and actually the first year we don't have to pay anything. So in front of you is the interlocal agreement. If you agree to sign it, I would recommend in signing it. I think it's a great deal for both communities.
So, two big good news items right in a row. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So, if somebody would like to offer the resolution,
May I ask a question or two first, or no?
sure, we're gonna have a discussion, but
Okay,
go
that's
ahead.
fine. Well, when I look at the packet, I see a clean copy and what appears to be a marked up copy of this agreement. I'm assuming our lawyers did a markup copy?
I think your lawyers, well,
Correct.
our
So I don't
lawyer
know
also
who's-
looked at
Our
it.
lawyer reviewed this and has no objections to any of the legal language at all.
Because it looks like the clean copy is, in fact, a clean copy of the
Mhm.
markup.
Right,
Yeah,
So I just want to make sure our lawyers had looked at it and
Right.
seemed to be okay.
Yes.
Because it was
Yes.
confusing when I was reading through it, going,
and the marked up
I understand what's going on.
section is a little, maybe it shouldn't have to be here, but this is the
Yeah.
file we got.
No, that's fine. Because the clean one has already been signed by one of the
Right.
police officers, I believe. That's all I have. Oh, the other one I had was, it's like if we sign it, this is retroactive back to May 1st.
That's correct. It's gonna take another month for us to get this moving, and we still have to interview who the social worker or psychologist is gonna
Okay,
be.
so
But like I
that-
said, that first year, there's no cost.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But it'll be next May 1st when we'll renew the
Correct.
agreement if it works out.
right. And I think there's so many, municipalities involved in different, council meetings at different times that everybody kinda has to get in line, so it's not like a perfect
That's fine.
clean thing, so you'll be signing this, I'm sure, after you get approval from everybody,
Yes.
from Franklin and from us.
Let me just clarify on attachment A, where it's a breakdown of the $136,000 budget. It lists the communities and their share, and it says the village of Franklin is 5,000, but it does not list Bingham Farms.
It does in the agreement, but on that page, it doesn't. They just missed it. And I did check on that. So it's 5,000 for both communities, 2,500 apiece.
Okay,
It's definitely in the agreement.
I
You're
saw
right,
it in
it's
the
not on
agreement,
here.
but I didn't see it in attachment A.
Right.
I was hoping you didn't see that, but you did. Maybe.
Just checking.
Yeah, it's good.
Trustee McAlexander, was that your only two questions?
That's it, yes, thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, so would anybody like to offer the resolution for the interlocal agreement for mental health co-response team?
I will offer the agreement as described, mental health coalition.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion? This is a roll call.
Blackburn,
Aye.
Deroni,
Aye.
Hageman, Howard,
Aye.
McAlexander,
Aye.
Mashigian,
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Miller passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Yes.
very much. Next is staying on the police department, the police special assessment district, public hearing for the 2024-2025 special assessment district. I don't know, Chief, did you wanna say anything? I know Bill is.
Yeah, I was gonna give a quick introduction, but I don't wanna slight the chief.
Go ahead.
And
Well, you-
time to build.
Okay.
The senator from Franklin yields his time to the council, to the treasurer of Bingham Farms. Last, as everyone might recall in the packet in last meeting, council meeting that we had, Chief Lawson went through and they presented along with the village administrator, Mick Schubert, not only the police budget, but the police SAD budget. It's something that is done and renewed on a yearly basis. As everyone may or may not recall, because of the crimes that were occurring back, the height of the crime that was recurring back then, they established it back in 1986, and it's been renewed every year. The roll is in the packet. It's also available on there for anyone that wants to review the roll, and it's parsed out between the 27 parcels that make up that SAD district. And that's really just basically the introduction that I wanted to give everyone prior to the president opening up for public comments, unless Chief Lawson wanted to provide any other color.
You covered it, thank you.
Okay, I do want to correct what I said. This is the public hearing for the 2025-2026 Special Assessment District. It is correct in our packet and on all the paperwork. So I am going to open the public hearing at 7:41. If there's anybody here to speak on this item, if you could please step to the podium and state your name and address. And have any written reports been submitted?
Nothing has been submitted.
Okay. Seeing no individuals here to speak on this SAD public hearing, I'm going to close the public hearing at 7:42 p.m. And we are going to be voting on this next month. Do you have anything else to say about that?
No,
Nope.
that's it.
Nope. Okay. Moving to the Oakland County Water Resources Commission rates for 2025-2026. We have Raphael who's here to speak to us today.
Good evening, Raphael Girola with Oakland County Water Resources Commissioner's Office. With me also, excuse me, it's kind of warm in here, so I'm not putting this on. So I'm
It
gonna
is.
do- We have Amy Plouffe in charge of water operation, then we have Drew Sandell in charge of sewer operations. So, any specific questions on water or sewer, they're probably the ones we're gonna answer, not me. All right? I understand you have a presentation in your packet. If you want, we can put it up here if people want to see it. Otherwise, just go through it. I'm missing the first few pages, but I'll go over the one that counts. There's a simple rate calculation page. It says you take your projected expenses divided by your sales. There's your rate, okay? That's how it works. However, let's get into the particulars. So on the sewer, we have our volume projection, so that's the denominator for those who are interested. When it goes down, of course, even if everything stayed the same, your rates would go up. We're using a 5-year average of actual sales to determine the projection for the upcoming year 2026, and that's going down a bit, all right? We're also doing the same thing on the water side. Of course, sewer and water are very similar, so it's a little preview as to what's gonna happen there. This page tells it all right? So, you see that volume reduction in the leftmost column? And then, sewage treatment. I don't know how many of you have been here before, anybody new? All right, okay. Let's go over what you pay for when you get sewage, okay? Sewage treatment. You have the local system, right? Takes the sewage away from your houses, residents, commercial establishments, and it delivers it to the Oakland County system called the Evergreen Farmington sanitary drainage district. It has a new name, and it's long, all right? Same system, though. All right, so it takes it from there. Oakland County then transports it basically to 8 Mile, unless there's some high rain events where it will go out someplace we don't want it to. 8 Mile, GLWA, formerly Detroit Water and Sewerage, then intercepts that sewage, takes it down to, in essence, the intersection of Detroit River and the Rouge River, where there's a big treatment plant. Gets treated, out to the river, all right? That's what you're paying for. So this first line item, the biggest line item, is sewage treatment. That is Evergreen Farmington charges, which are inclusive of Great Lakes Water Authority charges, all right? So Great Lakes Water Authority went up about 4.3%. The Evergreen Farmington overall went up 5.5. So if you were at the average, you were 5.5. Congratulations. You are below the average at 3.7. The reason you're at below the average is they use a 5-year average of sewage volumes, metered volumes for every community. For whatever reason, you're making out like bandits this year. So be happy. It's keeping your rates down. All right, our operating expenses are going down slightly. That's just regular operations. So labor's pretty much flat. And then I have, if I can read my own handwriting, material costs are slightly lower. But you have a relatively new system? I don't know. It needs work still. Drew is going to probably have to talk about it in a couple of minutes here. Reserves, we're raising both what we call major maintenance, which is like looking at the sewers with a closed caption TV system, where they put a little TV in there, or I should say a little video thing, and see what's going on in the pipe. And like grouting, things like that. Not anything that really extends the life of the pipe, but just keeps it in good shape. So that's major maintenance. Capital obviously is when adding life to the pipe, usually lining or replacing a motor if you have a pump station, something like that. All right, so we're just adding 3% to those. Your non-operating debt service, we're keeping that flat for now. A couple of years from now, that's probably going to go up slightly. But if you recall, God, 3 or 4 years ago, we kind of set this rate. And we thought we were going to get hit right off the bat, but we haven't been. Don't worry, Drew has some plans for that money. It's not like it's going to just sit there. It's going to spend it. And then we have the non-rate revenue. You guys have 2 funds held in trust at the county, a water fund and a sewer fund. You earn interest on that. That's probably the biggest contributor to your non-rate revenue. Those customers who don't feel like paying their bills on time get a penalty charge. That takes away from it. So encourage your neighbors not to pay on time. You know, keep the rates down for everybody else. Just kidding. Overall, it's a 2% increase in the total operations of the system. All right. So if you do want some simple math here, you'd say, hey, well, we're losing 2.9% volume, plus we're adding 2% on cost. I would expect about a 4.9% increase. Next page kind of breaks out the actual expenses for the budget for the current year and the proposed upcoming year. This is effective July 1st of this year through June 30th of next year. We follow Great Lakes Water Authority fiscal year. And most communities are also on July to June fiscal year. The county's on October to September if you're interested, but most folks aren't. All right. So the last page on the sewage side shows you what's going on. Overall, it's a 5% increase, right, to the volume charge. So that's sewer. Moving on to water, a couple pages. Same picture. It's a little busier because you have purchases and sales shown, unlike the sewer side where you only have sales. All right. As you can see, sales went down a little last year, or I should say 2024 fiscal year for GLWA. The orange line's purchases. I would believe the purchases a little more. We don't exactly line up when we read the retail meters compared to when SOC was reading the wholesale meters. All right, well, I guess I just like on the sewer side, you have multiple providers before you get your water, all right? So for those who are new, Great Lakes Water Authority purifies the water from the Detroit River or for Port Huron, all right? It then goes through Great Lakes Water Authority pipes to what's known as Southeast Oakland County Water Authority. Southeast Oakland Water Authority then provides services to get it to, in essence, Bingham Farms, but not to the individual customers. So what we are doing is providing that additional service, just like on the sewer side, to get it to the customers instead of taking it away from the customers on the sewage side, right? Water, we're bringing it to you, sewage, taking it away from you. I don't know which one you're happier with, but I know which one I would be happier with. All right, so that's going down a little, just like on the sewage side. You can see it on the next page. It's a 2.9% decrease again, 5-year average. All right, you see this 5.3% increase in sewage, purchased water from Saukwa. That's a little misleading because we're reducing the volume. I think the Saukwa increase was about 6% to all its customers. So it's about a 6% increase, but because we're reducing volumes, it looks like it's less. All right, but it's really probably closer to 6%. Somebody here must sit on the Saukwa board. It's not me. We're not allowed, but you have to be a member. Somebody here is a member. Bingham Farms is a member, right?
Mhm.
All right, operating expenses are decreasing a little. On the reserve side, we are going up 3% on major maintenance, just a regular increase. On the capital, in the previous fiscal year, we funded it. For whatever reason, we cut it out in the current fiscal year, and we're asking to put it back in for the $9,000 I believe we had it in for a couple of years ago. Because Amy needs to do things related to like hydrant replacement and valve replacement. These are the bigger valves in your local system, all right? So that's what they get to do with that extra money, helps them do that, make those fixes. Also, if you had to replace a pipe, that would be part of it. Okay, non-rate revenue, already went through that. It's going up slightly. Hey, your interest rates are up. So yes, we're projecting a slight increase there. Overall, it's a 4.2% increase in the budget. Plus the 2.9, you're probably saying, oh, about 7.1. Next page, if you want to see color graph on the actual projected expenditures for the current year and the projected year, proposed year, there they are. You see the green that wasn't there before. And then finally, over to the last page, we have for water, it's a 7.3% increase when you actually do the math. All right, it's not perfect doing the rough math. You have to actually get your calculator out to do the precise math. And so 7.3, flipping a couple pages, finally down to the nitty gritty. What does it mean? All right, it's a 5.9% increase. What I'm showing here is the price per 1,000 cubic feet. We do rates in 1,000 cubic feet, but you guys are billed in hundreds. So if you bought 10 units of water, and also sewage is based on your water sales usually, you're looking at a $4.98 increase per 10 units on your bill, or 1,000 cubic feet. That's what's presented to you and being proposed for your consideration this evening. All right, any questions on water or sewer?
Since I'm new, I have a couple of curious questions.
Okay.
Who actually owns the local infrastructure?
Bingham Farms.
Okay, that's what I thought, so that's fine. And, I actually see graphically that water and sewage is going down, usage. What do you attribute that to?
Well, it's hard to say here.
Yeah.
Last year was a very wet
So
year, so
watering
people
the
weren't
lawn.
watering as much.
So that's what I
However,
did.
you also have a very nice stretch of Telegraph Road that can be doing better or worse than what you're doing on your watering of the lawn, so it's hard to say
Yeah.
with your community. You should be glad you have it though, because it's a nice offset to whatever may be happening due to the residential usage. And mature systems usually tend to use less water over time. we all get more efficient toilets, better, I shouldn't say better, more efficient dishwashers, washing machines, if you care to buy one of those type of machines, yes. I don't buy those kind of machines.
You don't buy a washing machine?
Oh, I have one, but it's not what they would call an efficient water disposal.
Hits me as kind of a washboard type of guy.
That's where I was heading.
Any other questions? All right, thank you for your time.
Good questions. Did Drew or Amy, did you want to add anything to that? Or, no?
You know?
You don't? Drew
I
does.
will always talk. Last year,
Wait, I'm sorry. Can you step to the podium?
Sure. Bring this with me. Alright, so last year we completed repairs on 2 pipe segments. And we had budgeted, I wanna say it was total $35,000, we ended up spending $21,000. So we came in under budget on our proposed repairs. Next fiscal year, fiscal 2026, we have lining planned for 4 pipe segments. It's a sizable amount. I think we were on the order of $150,000 for those repairs, which you're gonna see then our fund balance go close to the point where we try to keep between 90 and 120 days in the bank on your behalf, and we're gonna dip right around that point. But that's going towards that lining project as well as some pump station improvement work that we've got going on. That's all I have.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Amy, you sure you don't want to speak?
You're standing up anyway.
Yeah, you look like you want to say
Welcome,
something.
Jamie, and
All right, so a lot of information was given to us today as well as what is in our packet. So both of these items require a resolution. So if anybody would like to offer the resolution for we'll start with water supply rates for 2025, 2026, as presented in our packet.
I'll make a motion to approve the proposed water and, this is just water?
Just
right?
water.
Just water.
Just water rates for 25, 26.
I'll second the motion.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
All right. Miller,
Yes.
Mishigian,
Yes.
McAlexander,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Hageman, DeRoney,
Yes.
Blackburn.
Yes,
All right, that passes. Thank you.
that's good. Doing good so far. Next is the sewage disposal system rates, very important, for 2025, 2026, as presented in our packet. Does anybody want to offer that resolution?
I'll make a motion to approve the sewage disposal rates for 25, 26 as per the packet.
And I'll second.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Blackburn,
Aye.
DeRoney,
Aye.
Hageman, Howard,
Yes.
McAlexander,
Yes.
Mishigian,
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
All right, that also passes. Thank you, everybody.
Wonderful. Thank you so much
Thank you.
to all of you. You're more than welcome to stay if you'd like, but if not, you can carry on. Thank you for coming. Moving on to new business, we have the election of our new village clerk.
Yeah, so whenever there's a vacancy, and there will be very soon, the village council must elect a new person as village clerk. It's, frankly, this is in the charter, and it's kind of a formality, but it needs to be done. So the sample wording is in the packet, and I will let Lisa, as the village president, will, I guess, accept nominations and move forward.
Okay, so I am going to open the floor to accept nominations for the position of village clerk.
I nominate Jamie Moore to village clerk of Bingham Farms.
Are there any other nominations?
We've already hired her, right?
So,
That's where the formality part comes in.
Yeah.
Just wanna make sure.
well, I guess I'm assuming it's a difference between an elected position that's clerk versus a hired position that's
Right.
manager.
Oh, okay.
And seeing none, seeing no further nominations, we will accept the nomination for Jamie Moore. Welcome again. And this is, we don't need a second for this.
No.
Because we don't have any other nominations, so we're gonna do a roll call.
Okay. Blackburn,
Aye.
DeRoney,
Aye.
Hageman, Howard,
Aye.
McAlexander,
Aye.
Mashigian,
Aye.
Miller. Aye. All right, that passes. And we might as well not waste any time. Let me swear you in right while we're standing here, or sitting here, but we will stand up. Okay, raise your right hand, please. Okay, I, Jamie Moore,
I, Jamie Moore,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this state,
and the Constitution of this state,
and that I will faithfully perform
and that I will faithfully perform
the duties of the office of village clerk
the duties of the office of village clerk
in and for the village of Bingham Farms,
in and for the village of Bingham Farms,
county of Oakland,
county of Oakland,
and state of Michigan,
and state of Michigan,
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right.
Congratulations. Wonderful, it's official. She can't get away.
And we don't write elections.
At least for a year.
So it's
Right.
You can decline the nomination next year. if you so choose.
Right. Well, welcome again.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna move to the SACWA Board of Directors appointment now.
Yeah, let me introduce this as well. So, we do have, as a member of the Southeast Oakland County Water Authority, we do have a representative that sits on the SACWA Board of Trustees and an alternate. I am the representative, and I will be obviously vacated, so I thought this would be a good time to appoint another person, and I would suggest that Jamie do that. So we need a resolution. They would ask for one anyway, every year. They ask for a new resolution. This is a good time as any, seeing as how they'd ask for it in June. So, close enough. If anybody would like to offer this for Jamie as a representative, and then I believe Kathy Mashigian, you're the alternate. If you'd like to
I was.
continue with that,
I was.
if you'd like to pass it to someone else, you may do that too.
Well, I think the question lies in who else would be interested in,
That's true. It is a good question.
yeah.
You
I
can't
mean,
force it on us, Kathy.
I'll do it.
Okay.
Come on. Okay, it's good.
All right,
That's
so
good.
we'll make Jamie the representative, and we will have Kathy as the alternate. And this is a resolution that needs to be offered and seconded. So would someone offer the resolution, please?
I'll offer the resolution regarding the appointment of the SACRA trustee and alternate.
Is there a second?
A second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Okay. Miller,
Aye.
Mashigian,
Aye.
McAlexander,
Aye.
Howard,
Aye.
Hageman, DeRoney,
Aye.
Blackburn.
Aye.
All right, that passes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We'll get this resolution over to SACWA immediately.
Okay,
I called them and told them we're coming.
okay, that's good. Next is to set the public hearing date for 2025-2026 budget, and Bill, could you introduce this for us, please?
Sure. In your packet, there's a resolution to set the public hearing for the fiscal year 2025-2026 and to publish the notice for the budget.
So it is in our packet. And if somebody would like to offer the resolution to establish the public hearing,
For next month.
for, right, May 19th, 2025, for the public hearing for the proposed budget for 2025, 2026. Right?
Oh, today's May 19th, so the date should
Oh, I'm
be
sorry.
something.
Right.
June,
I'm
whatever
sorry,
that-
you're right. June
23rd.
June 23rd, I'm sorry. My mistake. For June 23rd. Set the public hearing for June 23rd, 2025. Would anybody like to offer the resolution?
I'll offer the resolution for the public hearing on June 23rd, 2025 for the village budget.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Blackburn,
Aye.
DeRoney,
Aye.
Hageman, Howard,
Aye.
McAlexander,
Aye.
Michigan,
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Okay,
Is the
that
budget
passes,
done?
thank you.
Are you working on the budget? Okay.
Thank you. According to the amended agenda, I'm going to hand out some more information that I got for street signs. Hand some this way. I also made some extras, so you can maybe set them on the chair there, Trustee Miller, and if anybody's interested in following along. So I've been kind of working with two different companies. They get back to me at two different times. This one got back to me Friday after the packet went out, and then also today she sent more information at 4 o'clock, so I just printed them up right before everybody got here. We're still discussing on whether or not we want to add a little bit fancier street signs to the village as part of the roads project. Like I said, this is one company that I'm working with, and this is the company that did the one sign that is already on 13 Mile Road that I feel like we should kind of go after, only because that sign is already there. So we could use it as a model. We don't have to if we don't want all the signs to match. But you'll see on the second page and the fourth page, all the streets listed. I don't want anybody to panic if there's a street missing or if the number isn't correct. This is just, we're still just speaking generally with these companies. So that's what I submitted to them, but it's in no way final. The first picture has the little arch on the top, which we had discussed last time. Different things can be put up there. And you'll see on the second page, she did add sort of the little Bingham Farms logo with the trees and that. So that's an idea. We could also have Bingham Farms printed up there, if people liked that idea. That was presented last time. The only real difference between the two options are the color of the signage, and one has the arch and one doesn't have the arch. So, generally speaking, the cost per sign of these is, she gave me an estimate, not an official estimate, but between $2,000 to $2,500 a pole. These are cast poles, so these would last forever. The cost, you'll see at the bottom that little, like, where it goes below the grass. That's the breakaway, and that's required by RCOC. That's their absolute,
Yeah.
not gonna get away with not doing that. So if somebody hits the pole the pole goes down instead of the pole going through the vehicle. So, that's not anything we're gonna get away from. But the other company that I'm trying to work with, the problem is that all these different companies work with all these different companies that have literally thousands of choices. This is the company that installed the pole that's there, so they know exactly where they got it and what they got it from. The other company I'm working with is having trouble finding, I don't think any of their vendors produce this product. So she's giving me some ideas, but it will look different then. So my kind of question, again, we're not making any decisions on this tonight, but kind of getting closer to cost estimates. Like I said, this is a pole that will be here 50 years from now. We could go cheaper, we could do an aluminum pole, but those poles are more apt to, wear out from weed whackers, or, it's gonna require maintenance basically over time, and they will deteriorate faster. So the question is, you wanna spend more now or more later?
What's the order to delivery time? Any estimates on that?
No,
Okay.
not yet.
Are both of these two samples the same price?
Yeah, both of these are between, she just gave me the estimate of she just said the estimate is between 2,000 and 2,500.
I'm assuming the arched
Yeah.
signs are gonna be slightly
A
more
little bit
pricey
more.
because it's more material, but.
And more printing.
And one appears to be black and white, the other green and gold. Is there,
Normally the colors, she said, doesn't really matter. Right now, the color that's on the present sign that's in the village is black and white, and that's why she did the black and white one. I didn't know if, because green is a little bit more of our color, there wouldn't really be a cost difference between black and green. It would just be more of a preference color, or, a preference. Do we wanna sort of create like an identity around our logo with more of a green, or do we wanna go with the black and white that's already there? And if we decided to go with green, if everybody really loved the green, we could also talk to that subdivision and say, hey, we can buy just their pole is already there. But, do you wanna just have we would just purchase just the blade is what they call it.
Nice,
So,
very nice.
the first question that I'm always asked when I contact these companies is, what is your budget? And, so I'm not sure. So it's difficult for them to give us ideas, and it's difficult kind of for me to give them ideas, other than I send the picture of what's there, and I'm like, this is what we want.
Yeah.
But I just wanna bat around a little bit, like, what are people thinking?
I'm trying to remember last month, this is just a couple of different options that are out there and what the spectrum looks like, and I think this really helps.
Yeah.
Compared to the one that was just this is
a stick?
a simple version. How much, I don't remember what that one was. I know it's all ballpark, but
I had it here.
I don't know if that was $1,000 or.
Yeah, this is.
Just for,
was-
this is all just gauging,
Yeah,
like you
that-
said,
The estimate of that one was like 26,000.
26,000
For
for,
all
Total.
of
how
them.
many per sign?
for 26 of them.
Right, but that was a rough estimate.
Yeah.
And that was for,
$1,000
each.
that was for
We have-
aluminum.
Right.
$1,000 each for aluminum.
Well, these
Cast
are,
aluminum.
they would be done in cast. These would
Cast.
be done in cast, and those are 2,000 to 2,500.
Yeah.
What I handed out last month, which this was, she didn't
Yeah.
go to these lengths.
Do you happen to have the picture of the pole from last month, or did that not include that?
It's just,
Because I think part of the cost,
Yeah.
cost being lower is the fact that there is like no embellishments on the pole on that
yeah.
version.
Right.
Right, it was
Right.
So
just,
there's no base, there's no
It was
pommel on
just-
top,
right.
and that, those are things that add a lot of
Right.
cost to them.
Right, which that other company that I had from last month doesn't have a vendor that does the exact same sign.
Yeah.
This is the company that did the sign that's there, by the way.
Do we need approval to do the signs that are at 14 and 13? Because those are not our roads.
Right.
Can we still put this up?
I've already talked to RCOC about that, and yes, they would be fine with that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things they don't give on, which one is the breakaway.
Yeah.
But he said, you know, there's certain things that they do require, reflectiveness, how easy the sign is to read, all of that, but this will all pass muster on that.
They would issue something.
We would have to go for a permit.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah.
we'd have to go through the permit process. But basically, he's given us the nod that this would be fine, as long as it had the breakaway base.
Well, if you're asking for an opinion, I like the curved top and something that, you know, it's our brand, it's our name, it's something. I
Yeah.
mean, you go to our website, this is kind of what you see as the
Yeah.
brand logo for
Mhm.
Bingham Farms.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, everything comes at a cost too. And so that's, the ones you've shown, that's the one I prefer. I don't know how much color matters to people in the state of Michigan, which I'm not from. Green is Michigan State, so I don't know.
Not when it's with gold, so that's fine.
Is it okay?
Right, right.
This is like Wayne-
So
Yeah.
we're
Like
being
Wayne State
neutral.
colors.
We've got the
Yeah,
gold
yeah.
from U
This
of
is
M
Wayne
and the
State.
green from
Okay.
Michigan.
And if you wanna appease the
Okay.
local people, those are Grove's high school colors, so.
Okay, so you think we're, because Jamie, you're gonna have to take the complaint.
That's right.
I can handle that.
Yeah,
Right.
it'd be ugly.
No, I think these are very nice,
yeah, I
very
think,
nice.
yeah, they're nice ideas, and between $26,000 and $70,000, right, that's the bigger question of
That's right.
how much is
Price
it,
the question.
how much is it worth us? But I'd like, yes, I think it's the same as going to a dealership. They say, what's your budget? And you say, well, I need some context first. So now we have context of what kinds of things
Yeah.
are available for what. So now we can think more about, yeah, do we want to spend something like 26,000 or 70,000?
What fiscal year will these signs be expensed in?
Probably, well, they would be part of the roads project, so let me
Right.
say that. So they would be part of the loan.
Be part of this fiscal, this
Right.
25, 26 fiscal year.
So what we're thinking, and we can do it differently, but it would make me nervous, is I would like to purchase all the signs at one time for all the different phases. Only because if we get some for phase one and then something changes in phase 2 or 3, and all of a sudden we can't get the same signs, that would be a real bummer.
Prudent.
So
Very prudent, yeah.
we do have a storage area
Yes.
that we recently negotiated. There's other things in there, so it's not like we did it just for this. But we do have room in our storage area to store these poles for each phase.
So you wouldn't actually install them, but you would let them buy it.
We would install them with each phase, right,
Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, so they would get it first. And as, you know, different signs were coming down and being put back up, it would be coordinated. And by the way, that cost includes taking down the old sign if they don't come down during the roads project, disposing of those signs, and installing these new signs. So it is the taking down and putting up. It's out of Beverly Hills and different things, so.
We gotta keep up with the Joneses.
I just feel like if it's ever gonna be done, now's the
This would
time,
be the time.
or 20 years from now. But this would be something that would, you know, I'm thinking these would outlive the roads themselves, frankly. If we, depending on what we get. I did include some of the, private roads in here, by the way, just in case somebody's asking. I think I did. Maybe I just,
And Bingham Point.
yeah,
And
so,
Cardinal Lane.
Oh, yes.
I might ask a question here. Bingham Point Drive really is minimized in the font size because it's got the most characters.
Mm.
And it seems to me in this rendering that if the tree on that particular sign was just reduced a little, you might be able to have a little larger font or, but I would be a little concerned about the font size on that.
I think the font is dictated more by the margins on the right and the left than the space above. Just looking at all of them next to each other.
And it could be abbreviated to just DR.
Correct.
Right.
I think maybe that might,
right.
And you can let that street vote on that.
Yeah, and we definitely would get more into that if we decide to do this, like Outlands. I mean, I don't know if Outlands wants
Right.
a sign. I mean, it would be it's a private road, so, you know, is Outlands gonna, I mean, that's another option, if the private roads want a sign, they could potentially pay for it. I don't know, that's a council decision. Not in the SAD, I wouldn't have a problem asking if the private roads wanted a sign, they might pay for it.
Yeah.
Or maybe there's private roads that don't want the sign. I don't know, you know, if Bingham Woods would want a sign, because they've got the wooden signs, they might not want one of these signs. So again, there's like, we're just general, everything's very general. I tried to include the private roads because I thought, well, let's aim high. But some of that could be reduced potentially. I've had no conversations with any private road people about if they would want the sign or not. We would have that if they decided to have a sign.
Well, Lisa, I noticed you have Timber Trail on here.
Right,
Isn't Timber Trail gonna become a path?
it is. So
Would you
again,
would you need 3 signs on Timber Trail?
I don't know. Again, maybe not,
Okay, I'm just,
but you
that
know,
might be a way to save a few dollars.
right.
The numbers you see right now are based on the signs that are currently in the
there.
village, so that's what we're going off of. Obviously, that can change.
Right. And I don't know if people will want, any sort of signage on Timber Trail. I mean, it will be a trail. It is a trail, it's gonna be a trail. So maybe people would just want that sign, but maybe council will decide to make some sort of different sign for that walking path that maybe could be installed later, I don't know. But there will still be 2 driveways on that street,
Yeah, one on
So-
either side,
Right.
that's true.
so,
Although, yeah,
Now,
right.
well, to be fair, only one of them has a Timber Trail address.
Right.
One of them is just a loop from Bingham Road to
Yeah.
Timber.
right.
Their actual address.
They were saying, yeah, you know,
It's guarded by
driveways
an
on
angel.
Timber Trail or whatever, but again, I was trying to aim high.
So the overall question is intent of going this way or that way, just like it was last month.
Yeah, just
It's
sort of
near-
like, what's your thoughts? I mean, are we
Yep.
thinking, you know, are people like $50,000? Or is it like, I mean, signs are gonna be there for generations.
It's gonna be there a while. And I also like that idea of making it more significant, from a significantly nice aesthetically, because it'll go back to the comments of the month or 2 ago of, we don't have a welcome to Bingham Farm sign historically, it's not there for reasons, and this makes it more, you are in a different place. You're not just in A, Oakland County, or B, Beverly Hills, so
Yeah.
Franklin, so,
Good point.
I like that.
I really like the continuity of the letterhead having the
Yeah.
logo,
I do
the
too.
signs
Yeah.
having, so we're starting to brand.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
think that is something significant.
I do too.
So I'm hearing that we are leaning, because the previous one had like Bingham Farms up on the top, but it sounds like maybe
The tree,
the tree,
Yeah.
okay?
there are too many words with Bingham Farms and
And then the name of the
Bingham
road.
Point Drive.
Yeah.
can sell T-shirts and hats and stuff.
Make some money back.
Heck, yeah.
We just talked about that.
Auction
That's
off
not a
the
bad
signs.
idea.
We just talked
That's
about
not a
that.
bad
I think it's a
idea.
great idea. We could have it on display down here.
Sure.
People come in and buy it.
We just talked about
Yeah.
that. Just money, just more money. We can do lots of things. Are people leaning toward the black and white, the green and gold, or some other color? Like I said, they're just very picky about, like, can't be red and white because that's a stop
Yeah.
sign. So there are some limitations on that.
Can't be blue, I believe, because those are city roads.
Right.
They're city roads. Yeah, whatever.
You said
Yeah,
something
'cause
about
they have that on
reflective.
13.
The signs at the county roads have to be reflective?
It's the traffic directing signs that have to be
Oh,
reflective, so like
okay, not
stops,
the, okay,
yields,
yeah, those
lane
are.
closures, yeah.
Well, and these have to have a specific,
There's some amount.
it has to do with what's behind, like the paint behind it and that kind of thing,
Okay.
so
Yeah.
there are requirements. It has to be easily readable
Right.
in the day and the night. So, you know, they say they really try to stay away from the fonts that some people are now trying to get all fancy, but they're very difficult to read.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So these are reflective at night.
Somewhat reflective. I would say.
Reflective enough.
Right, I would say our definition of reflective and their definition might be different.
It
They're
me-
not
it
like
meets-
lit up.
But it meets whatever rules
It
and
meets the
regulations.
requirements, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it would have to, since the Oakland County Road Commission has to sign off on it.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bill was with me in that meeting. So, they're pretty flexible, but there's certain things that, it's mostly the safety stuff that they're really stingy on now, for good reason, obviously. But other than that, they said they're a little bit, you know, loosening up a little bit about it.
Well, I
So,
think what I'm hearing is a lot of people like this.
Yeah. mhm.
Yeah,
With the tree.
yeah,
And are we leaning
definitely.
toward like a cast sign that's gonna last forever and not get damaged by weed whackers?
Well, the other problem is if you don't have the longevity factor, then you go with the lesser quality, and then one of them gets damaged, and then you can't go back and it's not gonna look the same as the rest. You know, it's nice to have the longer lasting, I think, make the investment.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good job.
All right, I will get back with her tomorrow morning and, try to get closer to, you know, something more concrete that we can speak about next month.
Good.
Let's-
Okay.
Did you put that up?
I have
Can I
that.
keep it?
I'll just drive by.
I'll sign
In a
it.
couple of months.
Very rustic.
Come up with small
wood.
one.
That's right.
Because we were the stable.
We're gonna move to the treasurer's report. Bill?
Thank you. Last but not least, the treasurer's report. We have 3 items on the treasurer's report tonight. The first one is, as you know, we go through disbursements, and I wanted to just to call out to everyone's attention, the listing in your packet for the general fund, at the very top, the dates posted were 04/29/2025 through 6/19/2025. It's really through 5/19 today. The dollar amount has not changed. I reran the reports. It was simply what happened is when I go into BSNA to pull it, the date didn't update because I was doing different things for budget, looking at it, and I was always using the the June 30th date. But there's nothing, it's all the same payments. It's the same total dollar amount. I just wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of that. So for check disbursements from 4/29/25 through today, May 19th, 2025, the general fund total amount that was expended was $202,446.58. For the check disbursements for the gas and weight fund, from the same dates, 4/29/25 through 05/19/25, was a total of $60,335.33. for a total of $262,781.91. Is there any questions that I can answer regarding either of the disbursements from the gas and wage or the general fund? These are motions, by the way.
Would anybody like to motion to approve the May 2025 bills?
I move that we approve the May 2025 bills as indicated on the previous report.
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. The next motion on the agenda is acceptance of the financial statements for April 2025. Again, in your packet is a period ending 4/30/2025. I will note that we are 10 months, so we're 83% through the fiscal year. We're almost there, 2 more months. And again, as I say every month, I go through, I look at it, I kind of actually pull a longer report that's by department to make sure that, you know, we're staying within budget. And I know that there's going to be budget amendments that we're going to have to do in June, but everything here is pretty much tracking. And again, I look at it compared to what it was last year at this same point in time. And in most areas, and actually some areas, we're actually doing better than we were last year, as amazing as it is. Any questions that you have regarding the revenue and expense report ending the end of April 2025 for me?
I'm just curious.
Mhm.
The street construction revenues, were there any, I'm looking for expenses. Were there any street construction expenses? Because we're only doing half the village. What about south of 13? Are we still maintaining?
We are still maintaining. Anything that comes through is reviewed and paid as an invoice. The only thing that we really have is not as much as street construction. Let me step back, I'll say 2 things. Under streets, we have one major road, which is Bingham Road, and everything else is local. The costs and expenses that go against it are anything that Johnson Landscaping does during the winter, plowing, salting, during the summer, cutting, removing shrub, or removing down trees. We are starting to, now that we are getting bills from, and which we'll cover here in a second, through HRC, we are now starting to move, and I am putting that towards street construction, and that's why you saw the gas and weight fund going up. It was $60,000 versus just a landscaping, or Johnson Landscaping line item. Those will be amended and moved so that we start to get the money in that pot and that we can account for it. Before, what we were doing is, we just had some money from the 1 mil that we had in the general fund,
Right.
and we would be paying it out of engineering. So if you look down to engineering on page 1 of 4, you will see that the budget is at 641%. That's the reason for that is, there's a lot of phase 1 and the fees that were coming out of that. That will be reappropriated and amended correctly into the street construction funds. And that will happen next month. Any other questions, Trustee Michigan, that I can answer?
No.
If there's no other questions, is there a motion to accept the financial statements for April 2025?
I move we accept the financial statement.
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Next one is the current investments for April 2025. Again, it's broken down between general fund and road fund. On the general fund, I just want to point out a couple of things, again, bringing it to council's attention. I mentioned 1 or 2, I believe it was 2 council meetings ago, that I was going to move money out of Flagstar Bank, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 6th item down on the general fund. That has been reduced, so right now it has a balance of $5,095 after interest posted in it. Those funds were moved into the general fund for operating expenses instead of drawing out of various funds. And again, the reason for that is the interest rate at 3.26. I try to use the lowest
Yeah.
interest rate available to use those funds first than the ones that are at a higher rate where we are gaining interest on it. So I wanted to pull that out. And the other thing is, the second from the bottom, last month we did not have a US Treasury. We only had US bonds that one was expiring and maturing. That came due, and we found a US Treasury that we are yields a 4% interest rate. We've invested $280,000, and what I did was I reviewed that with multi-bank securities, and we brought it out to the end of December of this year. The reason we did that, we thought it was a very good rate at 4. There's a lot of movement still in the market as far as where things are gonna settle when the dust settles. So the best rate that was there that we could obtain was that 4%, and then we'll relook at it again when we come to December maturity. Everything else that you can see there, we have some that are out to, February of 2026, March of 2026, but I'm just making sure that it stays as consistent and as high as it possibly can based upon what the market is bearing. That's the general fund. The road funds is pretty self-explanatory. We're running with the cash, insured cash sweep. The first one, I still keep the Oakland County pool, investment pool on both of them. The reason I'm doing that, our interest rates are starting to creep up a little bit. When Oakland County investment pool originated back in time of COVID, when interest rates were going down, they wanted to lock in as things were coming down. So they locked in, but they got locked in at a lower rate. They had to wait for those to mature, and now they're coming back up. So when I met with them, their recommendation was, please don't just completely bring it down to zero. Stay with us with a little bit. We moved most of the money out into other high-yielding investments, and we kept it there so that the account can be there, that it's, when it comes back, we have another option to put funds in there if we choose to do so. And again, as you'd see, we have one CD at Superior National Bank that I negotiated that 5% rate when we renewed it. It's coming up in June, and I will reach back out to them along with other financial institutions to see what rates are for those CDs. My thought right now, based upon where preliminary budget is I may just have that come due and put it in the very liquid insured cash sweeps, if that continues at 4%, if there's nothing out there that's yielding it. I looked at rates today, they're hovering below 4%, 3.6, 3.87. So if we can still get 4 and wait for it to, every once in a while, a credit union or someone will give a promotional rate that's a little bit higher. If that's the case, well, then we'll take advantage of that. I'll update the depositories and we'll move the funds over. But right now, I'm just trying to manage to make sure that we have two things: flexibility, liquidity, and increased interest rate that is the highest that we have out there in the market that's still safe and secure. Any questions on the investments?
Good job.
All right, that is not a motion, I don't believe, or is it? It is.
We already did that
We
one.
did that one. So the last portion on the agenda is what, I think we did it the first time last month, and I will continue to do it. In your packet, we are tracking HRC's invoices for where they are against the not-to-exceed fee of $680,100. The first one you'll see was an invoice that is dated April 10th. And the second one is as of May 12th. So if you look at, you'll see both highlighted in your packet in yellow where we were, but the one that you need to look at to focus on is where we're at as of the most current is the May 12th invoice, which says that year-to-date we are at, that we spent $233,374.52. The limit is the $680,100, so they have a remaining balance of $446,725.48 remaining that they can spend before they reach that cap of not to exceed of the $680,100.
Any questions on that?
Yeah, I'm just curious on reading this. They put down the number of hours and the rate, and then total labor is 2.9 times that amount.
That is their factor. I've talked to Brad about that. I asked him why it's 2.9, And he said that has always been a factor multiplier of it. That's the way that they build for the village for a number of years.
So we pay an hourly rate. And what is that rate for?
That is just their pricing of their multiplier. It's their multiplier.
Hmm.
If you need more, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Correct me if I'm wrong, I think the way, at least I think I understand it, is they're charging us what you're seeing is the cost of somebody like Brad. So then they multiply by 2.9, so that's their profit.
In overhead.
It's gonna pay for their overhead, yeah, so Mike's exactly right, it's not pure profit. That's what they're gonna use to pay overhead, and if some amount of that's gonna be profit. But if I look at this, Brad makes, I guess they're paying Brad, what, $60 an hour maybe, or something the equivalent.
Yeah, 63
Yeah.
is right.
Yeah.
If you want more in depth, I'll reach out and
No, I'm just
Get an
curious, why
exact
not
statement.
just charge
63?
the actual rate, which is 63 times 2.9, that's how much we're
I
paying.
think the reason they print it that way is for transparency, so you can see each individual employee's hourly rate that they
Right.
make.
Yeah.
Right,
But then the 2.9 multiplies it to give them their overhead, right? Because they have to pay for a building, they have to pay for the computers, they have to pay for software, they have to pay for whatever else.
Trucks.
So
Yep.
that's why it's split like that instead of just seeing one number, because then you'll be sitting here going, why is Brad getting $200 an hour?
do we do that for the attorneys?
I don't know how attorneys
No,
work.
we don't. We just-
Attorney says hourly.
Yeah.
Right,
I think
that's
how a
what I'm
company
saying.
sends us their invoices is up to the respective company, so.
Right.
Okay, all
It's,
right.
it's not up to us how we do it, it's up to them.
Yeah, attorneys, as you recall, is a rate, hourly rate, and then they, as all attorneys, right, depending upon the increments of time that they bill in.
Sure. As this, too. In half hour.
So is there any concern that we've already expended 1/3 of the not-to-exceed amount, and we haven't dug the first ditch yet?
My answer to that is, I'm not concerned, because they're capped at
Yeah,
it, they can't exceed it.
if they hit it, that's it.
Okay.
They won't just not show up if they were to hit it. Like July 17th or something, they would be there still the next day. They wouldn't just leave us to our own devices.
Their 2.9 would come down at that point,
Yeah.
internally.
Well, that's why there's always extra baked in,
Yeah.
right?
Well, it's good to be tracking this.
It's good
Yeah,
to
it's
see.
very good.
And I will continue, obviously, you guys asked for it, council asked for it, so
Uh-huh.
what council asked for, council gets.
So what are you thinking, Bill, because this is HRC, now is it Liberty, the company that we,
Florence?
Florence? So now, soon, we're going to start seeing invoices from them based on some kind of payment terms. Can you do the same thing, is that?
Sure.
I think
Yeah.
that would be good, because now you've got another pot of money that we're gonna start seeing invoices from weekly, monthly, whatever it is.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
and we had a pre-construction meeting. Florence was here along with HRC. We walked over and went through a lot of line items and numbers and things. Those invoices will first go to HRC. They will review them, make sure that everything lines up, I's are dotted, T's are crossed. Then it'll come to us. We will make sure that we review it, as I do every invoice now with Jamie versus Ken. And Jamie seems like she's very well in tune with having a lot of experience with roads and things that she's done in her past. So we'll scrutinize and make sure that everything that is there was done, as HRC will, and because I expect Brad to make sure if the contractor says, we did and completed this, that's why they have someone out there monitoring it and say, yes, they did do that. Or if there's change orders, or if something comes up, Brad's gonna deal with that, but he assured us that he's gonna make sure that we are kept up to date on anything like that happens in the field. But I'll continue to keep providing this, and we'll do something similar.
Good document.
We'll do something similar with Florence Construction Cement Company.
Okay,
I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Bill.
We are gonna go around for trustee comments. Trustee Miller?
No comment. I guess we're gonna say goodbye to Ken some way somehow, but other than that, I don't think I've got any more comment.
Nothing.
Well, I'm gonna use my whole trustee comment time to say thank you to Ken. You've been really great to work with. I've learned a lot from you. I see you squiggling in your chair already. I'm not gonna totally embarrass you, but it's been a pleasure. We wish you nothing but good luck.
Thank you.
And we hope you stay in touch.
I will.
If nothing to do on Monday nights, you come by.
Oh, absolutely.
I was never,
Okay. I also want to just tell everybody that Ken has gone way above and beyond to introduce Jamie to our village.
Definitely.
He hasn't had one foot out the door for the last couple of months. They have been burning the midnight oil over this last week. And Ken has been preparing for the last couple of months.
And we're not done.
Binder.
Yeah.
Yeah, things to do, but thank you for setting Jamie off on the right foot.
Sure.
And as sad as we are to see you go, we are happy that
Yeah.
Jamie's here and feel like we're in good hands. But thank you for everything.
I think you're in good hands also.
Good.
So, it's been a pleasure working with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, I'm wondering if there's a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes, 8:47 PM.